tonight's webinar. Hopefully you can all hear me. So tonight's webinar is all about reporting and about slicing and dicing your data to actually be able to do something with it. So let's kick on. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to draw your attention to the customer success site. So that's jam-packed with loads of different guides and different video tutorials as well about how to do a lot of things about the system. So do stop by and have a look there. Obviously, we will also post the videos for tonight's webinar on there as well. So if there's anything you want to recap, we'll send it out, but it'll also be there for the archive. Do follow us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So if we're not connected, then by all means link up, because we do post a lot of stuff that we don't email out that you may find useful on a day-to-day basis. So by all means follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Excuse me. Right, well, that is me. I'm Matthew Earl, the Customer Success Director for InTouch. Again, link up with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. It's my job tonight to take you through the exciting world of reporting, well, hopefully make it exciting, and show you how to actually use it and why you'd actually use it. So rather than just blasting things out to everyone and anyone, I'm going to show you how to actually really target your marketing and use reporting quite successfully. That's the aim anyway. So the agenda for tonight is we'll go through the basics as normal. We'll have a talk about your data and whether it's actually fit for purpose, and I'll explain about that later on. We'll also then look at the custom reports. We'll have a look at the who, what, where, why, and how of the custom reports, and we'll actually then look at actually running a custom report as well. So you can look through the steps, and I'll explain everything as I go along. We'll look at the difference between contact and business reports, because that's the question we get on a regular basis, is what is the actual difference? So we'll have a look at those, and I'll go through why you'd use one over the other and why both are actually quite successful. We'll then look at why reporting is so important. So after we spent a little bit of time with and various stuff, let's look at why. Why would you actually do that? And then we'll look at how we can actually fill the blanks in your data as well before the normal Q&A session, and a few final thoughts there from me before we sign off, and you can go and enjoy your evening. So let's crack on then. Let's look at the basics. So the whole thing of the basics is the who, what, where, why, and how. Well, the who is, before you start reporting, you need to actually know who you're aiming for, and this really comes back to your data and whether it's actually fit for purpose. How much do you actually know about the people that you've been given email addresses for? That's a very valid question, because if you've just got the email address and you've got nothing else to distinguish them, then there's not a lot you can really report on them. You might be able to say, well, I want to pull back all the Gmail email addresses or all the Hotmail email addresses or something like that. But if you've got nothing else, then, well, who are you actually going to report on? How are you going to segment your database? So in times like that, you're going to have to just simply split it down in sheer numbers rather than anything else. But before you start reporting, you need to know who you're actually aiming for and whether you've actually got that information. Then it's a case of, well, what do you actually want to achieve? And again, this is knowing about where your data's come from. So if you've collected your data from a specific event, then by all means communicate about that specific event to that target group. But you need to know what the end goal is, and before you can do that, you need to know where it's come from, how good it is, and how clean it is at the end of the day. As I said, it's about where your data's come from then as well. So not so much as, did you collect it at that event or this event, but actually, is it opted in? Is it purchase data? Again, knowing whether your data is actually fit for purpose is really important, because we often get asked about purchase data and people collecting 20, 30, 40, 50,000 records plus by purchasing the data. and thinking that they can just blast out emails to it. But in actual fact, that's not the way that you should be doing it. Purchase data comes full of holes. It may look complete, but actually, you've got to think of when was that actually collected? How old is that data? Somebody phoned me up the other day and asked, is that customers really matter? Well, we haven't been known as customers really matter now for well over 5-6 years. So they're phoning me up with some really archaic data. And that was actually a company who were collecting the data. So they're looking to clean up their records. Well, if that's the first time they've spoken to us in about 5 or 6 years, then I'd hate to think who they've actually sold that data onto and what other issues are going to be with that. At the end of the day, with purchase data, you don't actually physically have the permission. The permission is a rather fluffy third-party opt-in, and therefore you, as the person purchasing it, will have all that bad information and that bad reputation coming back to you. So all the unsubscribes, the bounces, everything like that, you will take that hit. So again, you've got to ask yourself, is your data fit for purpose? The best places to get your data from are people signing up on your website, feeding into your database, because straight away they're giving you their permission. They are saying, you know what, I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from some third party that I've never heard of, and I will never actually ever look at their stuff. In fact, I'll only complain about it. I want to get something from you because I'm filling out this form. Or, exchange your business cards with somebody at a trade show or a networking event or something like that. Getting people to give you their data means that you have permission. You have the power then to communicate with these people. And again, it means it's fit for purpose then, and not just there to make up the numbers. I tried to think of the why, but I've got that later on. So we skip straight to the how. So the how is this end goal going to be achieved? So the whole point of looking at your data, the whole point of going through and collecting data is so that you can do something with it. If you do all the hard work, I mean, I'm sat here with a little stack of business cards that I've collected from networking events that I did yesterday. I've followed up on each and every single one of those. But the whole point is I've collected the data. I have physically gone out. I've gone to a networking meeting. I have spoken to these people. I have picked up these business cards, if you can hear me clicking them. And so I've done the hard work to actually get that data, get that foundation that I can actually do something with. So it's then about, well, how are you going to achieve your end goal of actually turning that data into money, into conversations, into whatever it is that you want to have as an end goal. And that's obviously achieved by email marketing, SMS, or even live chat. So actually talking to somebody, picking up the phone, dialing the number on your business card. So you have that. That's the how. But again, going back to your data, if it's just full of holes, if it's just email addresses, then it's going to be a case of, well, how am I going to achieve anything with this without filling out the blanks? And that's why we'll talk about that later on. So that's the basics, is knowing what kind of state your data is actually in. And then it's going to be a case of looking at how you can actually report on that data, which is what the whole point of tonight is. So let's crack on. So custom reports. So custom reports are a great way of you actually being able to segment your database. As I said, the whole point of it is to actually be able to chunk up your data so that everything comes down in bite-sized chunks. So what we'll actually do is we'll flip over. So hopefully you can see my screen now. So I'm showing you a system where I'm going to go into reporting, or reports on the left-hand side. And the first tab that actually opens is custom reports. So custom reports are the first one there, and they give you freedom to do everything that you want. So the first thing you do is you click on create custom report, and then it takes you into a very step-by-step process. Step one basically allows you to basically define what you see at the end. So the whole point of this is not what criteria you're going to be setting of how you're going to run the reports or something like that. But this is what you're going to see at the end. And that's where you're having your end goal in mind is quite important, because if your end goal is to pick up the phone and speak to these people, now you want to see their work phone number, their mobile number, maybe even their home number. So you tick these fields because that's what you want to see at the end. These are going to be different columns in the spreadsheet that you download or anything like that, or even just displayed on the screen. These are going to be the bits of information, the nuggets of gold that you are going to have coming down in your reports. You may actually want to include a custom field in there as well, because the more information you can see, the more you can actually use when you are doing this follow-up. Now, obviously, if your end goal is to create this segment, run this report, but you just want to send out an email to these people, well, you don't need to worry about these things then, because the report's in the system. You can just pick that report when you go to actually send an email out. So really nice and simple. So that's step one. Now, when we move on to step two, this is where we actually build the report. So in a custom report, which gives you the freedom to not only report on any of the standard fields or the custom fields, but you can actually break things down in terms of groups as well. So you can choose to report on a group, or even say if somebody appears in a particular group, i.e. X customers, don't include them in the end report. So really nice and simple. So what I'm going to do here, this is a test database, I know the data in here. Excuse me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the standard fields, because that's what I want to do. And I could report on first name. I could report on any of the standard fields. So I could actually say, show me anybody that has a town or city set to Weston-super-Mare or something like that. What I can then do is I can change the operator. So this is the kind of programming side of things, where we go, okay, well, is this going to equal, or is it going to contain part of this word? So for instance, if I just went in and searched on Matthew, I know that this account only has one record, which is me. So it's got Matthew Ruddle as the name, Matthew is the first name. So I'm saying I want to run this report on the first name that equals Matthew. Really nice and simple. So you get the gist of that. But what you could do, I'm just going to clear this one out, because that's the basic information. Now, one of the great things is that I can actually run this on a custom field. So this is information that I've captured. Now, this is a custom field that I've set up previously that basically says webinars attended. So I could say, okay, well, which webinars do I want to know if people have attended? So this is where I could be segmenting my group to say, well, show me everybody that's turned up at the reporting webinar, or the automation webinar, or the email marketing webinar, or the sales webinar, if I put that in there. So all I need to do is select the criteria and click next, because then it takes me from actually defining that criteria to step 3, where it gives me a preview. So it doesn't run the report there and then for me. It just gives me a little snapshot of up to 10 records. Now, obviously, I've only got one person in this account at the moment, so that's what it's showing me. But if I had 3,000, it would show me 10 records that hit that criteria. And what you notice from here is the fact of the fields that I've got showing. So first name and last name is always going to be selected by default, even contact ID, because they are defaults in the system. But in step 1, I said I wanted to see the home telephone number, the work telephone number, a mobile phone number, and I selected the custom field, which this is now showing me that there is one person that hits that criteria. There's one person, Matthew Ruddle, who has been to the reporting webinar. Really nice and simple. But you know what? If I think that that is wrong, I think there are other people there, or there's a wider batch of information. I can go back. I can go to the previous, and then I can start to fiddle around with the report even further. I can actually say, well, okay, well, let's narrow it down on first name and who attended the webinar. So the beautiful thing about custom reports is the fact that everything is put on a plate for you. So all your custom fields, the options are there. So if I had drop-down fields, if I had date fields, anything like that, I could just go in and I could select them. Whereas some of the other reports, and we'll go through them in a minute, are more of assuming that you know a bit more about your data. So therefore you know what the words are, what the text is, what's actually there. So I mentioned about some of the other things that you could actually do with this. Now, if I had groups, what you'd be able to do is say, well, just include this one particular group. And by including it, rather than the report looking at your entire database, the report actually just looks at that one small group. That could be a small group of 100 people. So again, the whole point of reporting is that you whittle away the people that you don't want to communicate with, so you become very, very targeted. You also have the option to exclude groups. So again, in the example of having a group called X customers, if you're sending out an offer or a little thank you or something to your current customers, the last thing you want is for anybody who's no longer a customer to get that, or to get that special offer that you're just doing. So if you've got a group called X customers, and you make sure that every customer goes in there that's no longer with you, you can choose to exclude it. And that means that the report can run on your entire database, but if they happen to be in this one particular group that you say to exclude, they will not be in the final results. They will not make the cut. So really, really nice little tool there, because of the fact that it allows you to get quite specific, either by including a group or excluding it, and running all this other criteria against it as well. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm happy with that report, and I'm going to click next again to take me to step 3, take me back to the preview, have a look around. I'm still happy with it because I know that I'm the only one that will be returning it. And I can click next. And the final step in this whole process is saving the report. So once you've saved it, the system will then go through and it'll run it for you. So it doesn't run it instantly, it runs it in the background, so it allows you to go off and do other things as well. And then it'll email you when it's completed. So I could just go report in, if I click, report in webinar list, for instance. I don't have to give it a description because that's my pure internal reference, but I can say who can actually view it. So obviously it's showing me up there as a user, so I can simply click that and click save. And you get the notification there that says your report has been scheduled to run. We'll notify you via email when that report has finished. So really nice and simple. Now, because this is a really quick report, it should be done in next to no time. So I'll take you back to the main report screen. Now you can see that that report is there, it's saved. I have other options. So I can either go in and edit the report. I can actually refresh the report. So again, if I've added more people on top of it, then you can just simply refresh it. So it'll rerun the criteria and again let you know when it's run with those fresh people on board. I could actually then create it as a group. So because I've used this engine in the system to narrow down my contacts, I could actually save that as a group. And then what I could actually do then is I could go and run another report, but I could use that freshly made group that's been made from that report to either include or exclude. So again, this is where you can get quite creative over the actual reports that you run and what you actually do with them and how you go about achieving stuff, because you can include, exclude, actively report on various criteria. It's entirely up to you. And then you can actually delete the report if you want to, or click on the name and actually go in and view it. So it obviously hasn't emailed me yet, so we'll let that run for a few more minutes. So those are custom reports, and as you can see, they're very, very simple but incredibly powerful, with the simple fact that you can narrow down your data, because the whole point of email marketing, or even any marketing, is to be quite specific, quite targeted in what you want to do. I'm going to quickly talk now, hopefully I'm not going too fast, but I'm going to quickly talk now about contact reports and business reports. because they are different things. So first of all, a contact report, which you'll find in the system, is all based around the people. It's a report similar to custom reports, where it will filter your list in real time. So you simply add different criteria and it will whittle down the list before your eyes, and then you simply save it. So this allows you to report on the standard fields and custom fields, but nothing to do with groups or anything else. So it's just about the core information that is stored against the contact record. And it assumes that you know something about your data. So whereas I showed you with custom reports, you get it spoon-fed to you. So that custom field I had, which was webinars attended, it's got 3 options in it. So reporting, automation, and email marketing. It showed me those options. I didn't have to think, well, what did I put in that field? So therefore, I can tick the boxes and away I go. Now with contact reports, I'd have to then enter something into a text field. So to say email or marketing or reports, something like that that might give me the end criteria. So they can be a little bit hit and miss, but they are very powerful because they're much quicker in real time. Business reports then effectively do the same. They do what they say on the tin. They allow you to report on the business information in the system. So the information in the system, which is all linking through to the business, so the standard fields and custom fields for the business. But what it returns at the end of it are contacts. So it doesn't give you a list of businesses, it gives you a list of the contacts who are linked to the businesses that hit the right criteria. Because at the end of the day, you talk and communicate with people, not businesses. You don't walk up to the building and start talking and asking if it wants to buy from you. You speak to the person inside the building. So therefore, business reports allow you to say, well, show me businesses that are in this industry, in the technology industry, in the marketing industry, in the selling sportswear industry, whatever. And then it gives you the people at the end of it, because those people you can then use in an email campaign or something like that. So it gives you those options, and that's really the main difference between contact and business reports, is that you get everything you get the contacts at the end, but one is set against the contact information and the other one is against the business information. So you can search on the businesses. But why would we even bother running reports? Why is it so important? Why have you all attended tonight's webinar about reporting? What's so important about reporting? Well, the whole point is the fact that you can either be a bit of a machine gun marketer and start just sending out to your entire database and hope that something hits, and unfortunately hopefully you're not that kid in the picture there. Or you can be a sniper and you can be focused with your marketing, because you could be communicating with 25 people, all targeted because you've run a report and you've narrowed it down, rather than communicating with 25,000 people who don't know you from Adam, who don't know what you're communicating with them about. They have no interest in that particular subject. They've met you, you've got their data, all opted in, nice and happy. But if you're just littering it with random emails, all you're going to do is start whittling down your list. You're going to start closing it down, because people are going to unsubscribe and they're going to complain. So the whole point is that we become very, very targeted by knowing something about our data. It's all about bite-sized chunks rather than one big lump, as I said. So the simple fact is that you'll lose people. You'll lose them because they're not interested in what you're actually saying. Now, we have a webinar in 2 weeks' time. The next one is all about email marketing reports and going through them, because that'll help you whittle it down as well. So do book onto that. But in the first instance, it's all about your data. So it's about knowing what you've done with these people, where they've come from, what their interests are, and various things like that. But you may be turning around and maybe scratching your head and thinking, well, I'd love to know all that information, but actually, I've got a few blanks in my record. I don't know that information about these people. So, how do I go about doing that without having to pick the phone up, 25,000 times and say, "Hi Bob, you may not remember me, but what's your favorite color? What's your hobby? What do you want in life?" So filling out those blanks. So let's look at how we fill out those blanks, and I'll actually run through how you can do that. So there's something in the system called update forms. Now, this is a fantastic tool. If you've ever created a web form, which I know most of you have because you've got information coming in, update forms work in pretty much exactly the same way. But rather than capturing information from a website or anything like this, you email these people out. You email this link out to people, and it could be a link in every single email. Just slowly whittling down your data to make sure that they fill out the blanks. So your web form could just capture an email address. But the whole point here is that you actually select what fields you want. And then you get a form that you get to email out. So in actual fact, you get a tag. So something like percentage update profile, update form percentage, with a number in there of what number your form is. But where do we go about finding these? So let's have a look. So we're back into my system. Now, to actually find update forms, you go to Setup and More. And then you've got Web Forms, and then you've got Update Forms. So an update form and how to create this, because, as I said, if you haven't got the information, well, you can't run reports on it. So an update form is there to help you get that information. So by going to Setup and More and Update Forms, we then get the option to create an update form. Now this, again, like most things in the system, is a very step-by-step process. The first thing is you give it a name. It's your internal reference. Nobody else sees this. So this could just be updating my records. Really simple. Excuse me. So what you then do is you say, well, what information do I want to show people? Because this is you selecting what information to give people access to. So if you sent me this update form, I would see that information relating to my record. I wouldn't see anybody else's, and I can't physically change it to show anybody else's. So what do you want me to see? Well, the first thing is I want to see first name and last name. I then maybe want to get people to fill out their mobile phone number, maybe even their job title, because again, you could be sending out a role-based email to say, well, communicate with all the sales directors or the gas fitters or whatever you wanted to. You could even say postcode or town and city. So you're giving people this information to fill in. You're giving them access to your database, or very, very, very limited access to just say, is that information correct? And if there are blanks, fill them in. So I'm selecting that information. I could say set whether they're required or not. Same as you do with a normal web form. I can even give them access to a custom field. So I can actually say, well, which one of these did you actually attend? Now you might think, well, webinar attended, I know what that means, but does the end user, the person that you're communicating with, do they know what it means? So you could change this and go, which webinars did you attend? So you make it more user-friendly. And again, they can see that and they'll be able to fill it in. You can then say, well, actually, once they've saved that record, so they have updated it, should I put them into a group? So you can go off and you can create a new group for them and say, well, look, every time somebody saves this record, put them into a group. So that, again, you're segmenting your database, not through reporting, but just through people actually updating their records into another bite-sized chunk that you can use. So thinking of it creatively in order of how to get this information, you could actually run a competition. So you could say, you could have a custom field in there which it just asks them for an answer, but you ask them for other information as well. So you could say, I don't know, I'm on the spot now. I'm really shouldn't ask myself a question when I don't know the answer. I don't know. You could actually put something like, "What's 2 plus 2?" There you go. Nice simple question. So you could say, "What's 2 plus 2?" and fill it out for your chance to win an iPad or dinner for 2 or something like that. Because let's face it, people aren't going to be forthcoming with their information. So therefore, we always like to get something. So offer them something in exchange for their information. So therefore, they'll go into a group, you've segmented your database even more, filled out the blanks so you can run reports, even better. The final thing you can do with update forms before you actually put it into an email is give it a color. Choose a background color, add your logo in as well, so you're keeping it on brand. So when they see the update form, they know exactly what it is. And all you do is you save it. Then when you actually go and create an email campaign, there's a tag that you can actually put into it. So I'm just going to go to email quickly. Let's just duck in over there. And we'll quickly whiz through creating a basic campaign, although I haven't set up an email address, so I can't do that. So there's a little tag which is literally percentage update form, and that one could be 100 and something percentage that you just drop into an email campaign as you would with any other tag. And then people can click on it. It's all linked to their profile, so they see their information. So for instance, this one was sent out to one of our staff, Jenna, or nice and simple, goes to her, she sees her records, and goes from there. And she can update it because there's a save changes button as well. So once she saved it, it goes into the group. I've started to fill the blanks. Fantastic. That means that you can then go back and you can run a contact report, a custom report, anything really, based upon actually having it. Now, I'm quite conscious that we're going to run through reporting quite quickly tonight, so I'm going to open it up for questions now. So let's kick it into Q&A mode. Does anybody have any questions about reporting? Is there any burning questions that you've got at the moment that I haven't answered, or is there anything you'd like to have another look at? No questions? Or everybody shy? Or everybody playing with reporting? Question. So how to create a contact history report for a single business. Okay, so contact history reports. So contact history reports don't come under the reporting kind of umbrella per se, but what you can actually do is within contacts. Now I haven't got any contact histories in this account, so you can go to contact history, contacts, and you've got contact history there. So contact history is when, for those of you who haven't used it before, is when you actually communicate with people. So when you actually communicate with people, whether you pick up the phone, send them an ad hoc email via Outlook or anything like that, you can record it in the system as a contact history. So you have that running you've actually done. Now in terms of what you've actually asked David about reporting for a single business, again, contact history is based upon contacts. So there's a couple of things that we could look at. I don't think we've got the option at the moment. In actual fact, I was about to say no, but we actually do. So if you go to contact history, there's a button there that says interaction report. So this is where, if you've got multiple staff, interaction report really comes into play, because you can actually set to define it by user, what type of interaction, when, or if you are just displaying all interactions, you have organization name. So you could simply type in there the organization name. So if I was linked to an organization, InTouch for instance, then what I'd be able to do is simply type in InTouch and it would show me all of the interactions for that organization. And then I'd be able to export that as a CSV file and obviously follow up with that if I wanted to. The other good thing about interaction reports is the fact that if I have got a sales team working for me and they are recording everything as an interaction, I can say, okay, well, between, there we go, we're virtually at the end of April, so for all of April, show me every interaction that Matthew Ruddle has had with people on his database. So therefore, has he actually followed up on things? Has he sent any emails? Has he made any outbound calls? I could tick that box. Has he won any sales, lost any sales, created any new leads? I can actually get that information. So when you are doing reviews with people, you can say, okay, this is the information. You either haven't recorded it or so forth. So hopefully that answers your question. Any other questions? No questions? Oh, got another one. Size of logo in the update form. It's entirely up to you. It will resize off the top of my head. I don't know the dimensions, but I will find that out and I will get that sent out with this the video and the slide deck as well. So I'll make a note of that. And let me go, image size update form. Okay, I'll get that sent out, so it's something you can use as well. And I'll put it onto the actual page that we'll put this video on as one of the questions also. So okay, so let's just go with one final thought then. So basically, my final thought is you have to do reporting. Really simple. I know, not kind of earth-shattering, but the whole point of any kind of marketing or communication is to be very specific, very targeted in what you're doing. Yes, if you are doing your first couple of campaigns, then by all means you can send out mass emails to everybody, but then you do the reporting afterwards, and that leads us on to the next webinar, which is all about email reporting, what you can actually do with it. But the whole fact is that you need to report. You need to segment your database. It is better to be targeted than just machine gun marketing and hope something hits the target. So, and that's where reporting allows you to do it. Hopefully, you'll take a couple of little nuggets away from this. Hopefully, update forms will be one of them to help you fill out your records, to get that extra piece of information that can be so valuable to better targeting of customers and actually knowing your customers better so you can actually do more business with them. A little nugget to take away. So, as I said, you must segment. There is no ifs or buts about it. Segmentation is the way to do these things. And it's all about the bite-sized chunks. So, really nice and simple. So what's next? Besides everybody going off and trying to run reports and playing with their data, the next thing is going to be the webinar on the 13th of May, which is a Wednesday night again. So it's 2 weeks today at 7 o'clock GMT. It's going to be on breaking down your email reports. So again, along the same theme of reporting, we're going to be looking at your email reports and what they actually mean. What is an open rate? What classes an inactive? So those are the things we're going to be looking at. If you have any questions for that webinar, for the Q&A section, by all means, send them over beforehand, and we'll collate them and we'll go through them on that webinar as well. But do book in. Obviously, everybody that attends tonight's webinar or actually booked into tonight's webinar, because I'm aware of quite a number of people who booked in ready for getting it sent to them. We will be sending out the content tomorrow, and you'll get the first look at it, and then everybody else will get it the following week. So make sure you book into the next ones as well, and I'll send you the link out for that. Again, look out at our success site. Do have a look around there. And again, if you have any questions, there's a lot of guides, a lot of videos, and a lot of helpful stuff on there. Obviously, do raise support tickets. Give us a call to us. We're happy to help, and we're here to help you. Reporting can be quite a chunky subject when you actually get into it, because you can actually think about, well, this is what I want to achieve. How do I go about it? And again, those questions you can push to us. We've seen enough data over the years to hopefully be able to work it out alongside you as well. But do follow us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. I'm sure we've got a few other social networks that our marketing guys would like me to push, but do follow us on those. We do push out helpful tips. We may be looking to do some social chats coming up as well, some live Q&As as well. So do follow us on those. And last but not least, thank you for joining tonight. Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully you can take away a couple of little nuggets of information to help you fill out the blanks in your records, but also to become more targeted in your marketing through more effective reports that you can run to segment your database. So, as I said, we'll send this out, and do book on to the next one. Hopefully you found it useful, and we'll speak soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.